Hey, what's going on, everybody? So if you remember from last video, we were talking about HTML. This video, I want to focus in on CSS, which is basically the styling for all of your elements. So if you want to change the color, if you want to align them in a certain way, if you want to have them be like in the middle somewhere, if you want to have them be off to the side, if you want to have some be like thicker, thinner, right, when it comes to like the text, if you want to make some pictures bigger, you want to make them smaller, that type of thing. That is what CSS does. It beautifies your website, okay? It takes basically everything from looking pretty much dull to fantastic, okay? So that's what we're gonna do here in this video. Now, CSS is pretty straightforward, and what I mean by that is you basically just target an element, okay? Like over here from CSS, you just target one of these elements over here from the CSS panel, and then you basically just tell it what you want it to be, okay? Like what properties you want on it, whether you want it to be colored, whether you want it to be like a thicker text, right? If you're like pertaining the text, okay? It's really that simple. So what we're gonna do is, I'm just gonna show you something here. What if we want to target all the H1s, okay? That's gonna be like the hello world, the hello world. Well, over here in CSS, what we can do is we can just type that H1, okay? Just like that. All right, and then what we can do is put these curly braces in. Now these curly braces are also where the bars are on the keyboard if you have a little bit problem finding them. Basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna have the curly braces open, and then all you're gonna do is hit enter when you're in between them. This is the structure, okay, for CSS. So basically what we're saying is, hey, select every single H1 that we have over here. So we have hello world twice, and in between these curly braces, I'm gonna write some code that I want pertaining only to the H1s. So how do we do that? Just like HTML has a bunch of different elements that you can choose from, CSS also has a ton of properties that you can pick from. So for instance, if we want to change just the text color, we're going to type color, and then we're going to do colon. After the colon, okay, because we're basically, think of like a colon like a separator in between what you want to name the color and the actual property called color, okay? And then we're just going to say red. And every single time that we list a property, so color, colon, red, okay, whenever we do that, we want to end with a semicolon, and that looks like this. Now, as soon as you do that, you notice that both of these turn red at the bottom. All right, it's awesome. So now you're in control of what you want to do. Now, let's also say that we want the font size to be 12 pixels. So if you notice, it's going to go down to 12 pixels. All right, now there's a bunch of different degree of ways that you can measure text. Pixels are like what's in your screen, right? You'll buy a TV, a monitor by the amount of pixels. There's also these things called rems. It's a scaling type. But for simplicity for this video, we're just gonna go ahead and use pixels. So 12 pixels is like your standard, right? For a lot of web stuff. On bigger screens, you might have like 16. So for this one, we're just gonna do 30. Okay, so let's set it to 30. And now we have a pretty big hello world on each one. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go down a couple lines, because every single time that we put in a new CSS value, we need to drop down a line. It doesn't matter if it's here or here, it just needs to go down a line. Okay, so now we're gonna target something else. Let's say H2. Okay, and for the H2, how about we have the color be like a gray color? Okay, so let's do gray. So remember, again, property, colon, and then the value, and then you're gonna have a semicolon at the end. Okay, same thing at the bottom. So with our H3s, all right, we're gonna do something like color, and some values have this where you can do like a dark gray, all one color. All right, and actually for these, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna do black. Okay, now another thing that I want to show you is with color, there's also something called hex color. So you have like RGB as well that you see like on like a lot of like TVs and whatnot, but there's something called hex color, and what I want to show you is it starts with a hashtag, and then you can give it a value. So for black is all zeros, okay? If we do something like 555, you're gonna see it be a lot lighter. Now what I want to do is have everything be right around that 333 mark. That's going to be dark enough, but not too dark, okay? So that is how we select something, okay? We select like an H1, an H2, an H3, whatever, right? And then we add some properties to it. Same thing with a div. So you can take an element that is a div, okay? So anything within these less than or greater than brackets, we can select. And what we're going to do is we're going to give it a background color. So anytime you got to separate words, it's all going to be by a dash. And then we're going to go ahead and give it another hex color. Okay, so that way we can like change up the variant just a little bit. And we're going to do a background color of 888, okay, with a semicolon. Now, you notice in CSS how everything goes all the way across, fills up the entirety of the screen, okay? That's because every element takes up that line and everything that it can on the computer screen, okay? So everything that it can all the way across. Now, here's what's kind of cool. If we want to change that, we can change the width of that div, okay? So with the width, what we can do is, let's do like 200 pixels, okay? So 200 pixels, you can see here that this from here to here is 200 pixels long. All right, if we want to change it a little bit bigger, you can do 300 pixels. That's why I said it's a little bit better to go in pixels, because it's a little bit easier to measure, right? Like, I would want to measure in inches, not centimeters, okay? So if we did rem, I mean, Lord, like this is going to go way off the screen, okay? If you notice, we can scroll like all the way over, okay? So that's why I like to keep things in pixels. Now, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to do, we're going to keep these around 300 pixels. All right. And then we're also going to do a border radius of 10 pixels. So that changes the borders. Now, like I said, knowing all the properties of CSS is just going to take you some time. Okay, there's tons and tons, like probably thousands of things you can do to certain elements. Okay, whether it's text or whether it's the background. Just know that this is going to come with practice, with time, and throughout this course we're going to be using more and more to where you're going to fully know as many as you need to make a pretty good website. Okay, me myself, 10 years into the game, I don't even use like that many. I use just enough, right? Because a lot of the time websites that you go to don't have like crazy CSS everywhere. They have really good pictures, they have big text, right? Clean looking text. And I mean, that's really it. Sometimes there's some animations that you can do as well, but majority of the time you're just going to be dealing with some things that we're going to show you here, and then we can work on those later on in the course. The next thing that I want to do here is I want to show you how to target a specific element. So let's say like there's something on the H1. I'm going to change these real quick. There we go. So now I got two different players. So the reason why I want to do this is because we can kind of like change based on their team, right? We can change a little bit of colors. It just gives us a different variety than just having the same thing typed twice. So now let's say that we do like yellow, right? For the color. Well, what if we want to do one? We know Lakers are yellow. And we know Warriors are yellow, okay? To a degree, right? There's an alternate color. But what if we want to change, like, I don't know, Warriors to like a gold color, okay? So if we go in and change this H1, well, it's going to give us like the same color for both, okay? So how do we change just one? Well, what we can do is over here on the div, we can hit space and we can type a thing called class. Now, what a class does is it gives a specific unique identifier to an element. So what we could do is we could say class equals, and then in quotation marks, we can say Steph dash Curry. Okay, so what does that enable us to do? Well, so we have, what we're gonna do is we're gonna we'll delete all these. So let's go to, instead of selecting H1 where we have like color yellow, okay, instead of doing something like this, let's put a period to access a class, and then let's write Steph dash Curry, and same thing with the curly braces, okay? And then let's put a background color of, and we're gonna do 555 here. Now, if you notice, look how cool that is. It only lights up Curry's, okay? It doesn't even touch LeBron's, all right? Now what we're gonna do is, I'm just gonna go ahead and delete this. I'm gonna give a color to the official hex color. You can look this up on Google, of the Warriors, right? It's this color blue right here. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go down. So now that we changed Steph's, we need to change LeBron's. So we can just type LeBron James, okay, as a class. You can name this class anything, by the way. It does not have to be like the actual thing that you're, that'd be silly, right? It can be anything that you want. You could change this to like X, you could change this to Y if you wanted to. It's all about how you access it right here, okay? So we're gonna do LeBron James, and then over here, LeBron James, we're gonna access them, and then we're gonna go color. And after looking it up, LeBron's color is going to be this for purple, okay? So now you can see how we can access elements based on a particular class, right? Like, so if we want to specify something in particular, we can get them now, okay? So let's say that this H1 is also something different, okay? So we want to say like Steph Curry H1, All right, so now we can access Steph Curry H1. Now let's change the font size to something crazy like 50 pixels, okay? So as you can see, it only changes Steph's, it does not change LeBron's at all. Now let's go over to LeBron's, same thing, okay? So we're gonna change class, and we're gonna go LeBron James H1, LeBron James H1, and we're gonna do font size to 50 pixels. All right, and now we have them both the same, but they're different color. Now, what I want to show you here is going to be a little bit better way to access these without having to put a class on every single element, because that would be insanity. So let's just go ahead and delete the classes off H1, and we are going to delete these H1 classes over here. And all we're going to do is, if we want to access, let's say we want to access the H2, just Steph Curry on the Steph Curry class, right? Because H2 is within the div, notice how everything in programming kind of shows you, like, this is any kind of text editor that you're in for programming. A div sticks out further than all of its elements. That means that the div is called the parent element, and these are called the children elements because they're nested inside of the parent, okay? So this is the parent, these are the children of this element, okay? So what we can do to access the children of the element, or the parent element, is we can go Steph Curry, okay? So we still got to access the element with dot, okay, for the class, but now we can just do space and do H2, okay? So whatever element that we want, put the curly braces in, and then let's change this color to I don't know, let's just do a green color. So now, as you can see, Steph Curry is in green because we were able to access that particular H2 under Steph Curry without having to give this a whole nother class of like Steph Curry blah blah blah, okay? Like, we don't have to do any of that. All right, so that's really nice. So once we have the class, we're able to just go ahead and access the elements underneath it. So something else I want to show you is how classes can be kind of like a theme. So you can create a theme around classes first before you like code anything. So if you're talking to a client and they're wanting, like, let's say they have like a green theme that they like, you can go ahead and make up a class that says like green theme, okay? And in the green theme, you can have all the text that you want colored be green, okay? And then you can have let's say the font size of that green theme, so each one that you put this class on, you can have it be like 30 pixels, okay? Now what's kind of neat is we're gonna delete this just for now. We're gonna go in and we're gonna do an H1 of let's see, Flower Company, okay? And then down here we're gonna do everything on sale right now. Then we're gonna do a thing that's like call 555 555 5555 for info, okay? So this is gonna be like our new target here, okay? Now what we can do, since we have this green theme made, you notice nothing happens, but it's kind of neat. This is a way of thinking about it. So we have a green theme made. What we can do is we can just go over here, okay, and we can type class equals green theme, okay? Now, instantly, when we do this, notice that everything changes, because if you change the parent element, everything underneath changes to match the parent element, okay? Notice that H1's a little bit bigger because H1s are bigger, H2, but everything goes up in size, okay? So, a way around this is, so if you're gonna have your own class, what you can do is, you can do to where green theme, let's go, H2s can be font size, let's say 20 pixels, and then you can have green theme H3 to be font size of 16 pixels, okay? So now, even though you have like the main one be 30 pixels, you can specify each individual one that you want, and now it changes it as you go. So now Flower Company is super big, so we're gonna still change this down a little bit more to 26, just too big. So there we go. So it's 26 right off the rip. So 26, okay? And remember, none of these have classes. This is all coming from here. Now green theme H2. So green theme here, H2 has a 20 pixel. So this one right here. And then green theme right here, H3 right here has font size of 16. Now, how cool is that? So basically, you can pre-make these themes and then make your coding job a lot easier than giving like every single thing its own class. Like that would be insanity. So that's kind of a way that you can stylize text or just kind of create a theme instantly. Now, something else that I want to talk about is something we didn't talk about in HTML. We can also add images as HTML. So we're going to go over here, and for image, instead of spelling out image, right? For this is how, you know, you would think an HTML element would be, but this is one of those elements that are kind of tricky. So all you do to write an image is img and then space slash, and so notice that it ends with that slash and it doesn't end with slash image. Okay, so it's just a one line type of thing, just like we had with input. Like if you remember with our input, this is how it was. So these don't actually end with the corresponding ending, right, where it's like slash image and slash input. Okay, so these are just one liners. All right, image, input, these are like the two that I mostly use as well. There's not too many that I use that have this. Okay, these are the two main ones that you'll find yourself using. What we're going to do is, if you want an image to be within your code, you can do something called a source. So just how we use class. Now what we're doing is we're putting attributes. These are called attributes on the HTML. So these are basically these are kind of like accessorizing the elements with different properties. Okay, it's giving them power. Okay, so we're powering the elements with certain things. Now the image one requires a source. Okay, so it needs to know, hey, what image am I putting in there? Well, what you do is you always access any kind of attribute with an equal sign, and I pulled up an image here. Okay, but you can find any one that you want. This is just a link. So if you go to any image like on the internet, so right here, I'll show you like the mountains here. You can right click on the image, go to copy image link. Then you can go back to your CodePen, and then you can go ahead and copy and paste this in here. Now, as soon as you do this, you got to give it a second, and boom, there it is. So check that out. So you basically have this nice big image, okay, underneath here, but you know, what if you want this to be changed as well? So with CSS, you can also change this. Now, we only have one image, so you don't have to like necessarily give it a class. Remember, like if you wanted to give something a class, make sure that it has different elements in it, so that way it makes sense to give it a class, or you're probably just going to waste time giving it a class. So what we can do is, since we only have one image for right now, we can type image just like any other element, right? This is just like an element, just like input, H3. So we're just accessing it with the element name. What we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna put the height to 300 pixels. Now with doing this, it automatically shrinks the image for us, which is what we want. So if you give like a width and not the height, or the height and not the width, it's basically going to change it based on the resolution size, right? So if you give it a height, it's going to change the width. It's going to calculate it by itself, basically. What we're going to do is we're just going to give this a height of 300 pixels again. So now we have an image that has a little bit of CSS on it. We have an H3 and H2, right? So now you know how to stylize elements. This is basically all you need to know to to stylize things. Okay, I mean, check this out. You could literally make a website with just what you know now. Obviously you don't know how to host it, all right, you don't necessarily know how to like save anything to where you need to put it on the internet, but like think about it. From what you know from HTML now, from what you know with CSS, you could make a website. You could make your own business website. Okay, now it might not look how you want it to look yet, but you could do it. The last thing that I want to show you in this video is something called an ID. We've already talked about classes. I want to talk about something called an ID. So an ID is basically like an identification that you give to an element that you can use later. Let me show you. So see how we gave this class a green theme? Well, this is how we access them all, okay? But let's say that there's like an element somewhere, okay? Like we have a ton of H3s, okay? Here's a reason to kind of show you why we have ID. Let's say there's tons of H3 elements down your web page, right? Your front page is like massive and you use tons of titles. Imagine these are all different, okay? But this one right here, okay, you couldn't give, I mean, you could give a class to, but it wouldn't make sense, okay? It wouldn't make sense to give a class to because classes are what you want to give to way to access things underneath them or, you know, on them. So we could give it a class, but what you want to do is you would want to give this one an ID. And an ID means that one, right? So we're gonna give an ID to this one called change me, okay? Now, what we can do, okay, is we can go down here and we can do hashtag change dash me, and then as always the curly braces. What this is going to do, this little hashtag means, hey, select the element ID of change me. So it's going to look all the way down your code. It's going to go all the way down and go, okay, ID change me. That's what we're selecting. And all we're going to do is change the color to purple. And if you look right here, it changed it to purple. Okay, so this is how you can change elements to either be a class, so that way you can change everything underneath it like this. Okay, or you can do it ID. So in the next video, we're going to incorporate JavaScript into it. This is the exciting part. This is what's going to make, basically, when we click on a button, something happen, okay? This is what completes a website. This is what you need JavaScript, okay? You need JavaScript to basically go, and if you have a button down here, to click on it and something to happen. That's what makes functionality happen. That's what makes sending newsletters happen. That's what enables people to be able to pay for stuff online. So I'm excited. Get excited, because JavaScript is going to be your third one. After that, we're going to deep dive into all of them and really make something awesome. I appreciate y'all tuning in, and I will see you in the next video.